reciprocation for one who is always thinking about Krishna, one who is engaged in serving Krishna. So what is the result? That Krishna is always concerned of the welfare of such a devotee. When Krishna considers such a devotee to be his intimate friend, and he gives himself to such a devotee. Srila Prabhupada is speaking in the very, very nectarine purports, verses 56 to 58, talking about the result of working in Krishna consciousness. So we'll continue from verse number 59. Here Krishna is talking about the consequence or the result of not following Krishna. One who fails to follow Krishna, what is his situation? This is verse number 59. Yat ahankaram ashritya na yositi manyase mithya esa vyavasayaste prakatistvam nirokshati. Yat ahankaram ashritya. What was the word Krishna was speaking in the previous verses? That madvyapashritya, madvyapashraya, and upashritya. The one who is not taking shelter of Krishna, or one who is independent minded. So where does ashraya has to be taken? The jiva in any case has to take ashraya. Jiva cannot be without any shelter. So if he fails to take the shelter of Krishna, then whose shelter will he take? Is of Maya. And how it will act? Based on his false ego. Yat ahankaram ashritya na yos iti manyate. So Krishna is telling Arjuna that if you do not act according to my direction, to my order, and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed by your false ego. Mithya yesa. Vyavasaya. Vyavasaya means determination. And he says that by your nature, prakriti stvam niyokshati. Niyokshati means to engage, and prakriti means the nature. Or nature means one's swabhav, his intrinsic character. So he's telling that even if you do not agree to my order, to my direction of fighting, and you leave from here because of false ego, and go to the forest, still you cannot be separated from the war. Because of your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare. Very, very important principle Krishna is giving, that how our actions are completely controlled by our nature. And our nature is determined by the influence of mode. We are affected the most. So in a way, we are puppets in the hands of the modes. That is why you have seen that famous photograph of three ladies. I think it is there in the pictures. Yeah, it is here. In my edition, it is there. Can you see? Three ladies pulling the strings. It is on plate 4. In your books, you see plate 4. All material activities in the world are being conducted under 3 modes of material nature. So Krishna is saying that you will be forced by your swabhava, by your prakriti, and ultimately you will be engaged in warfare. You get my point? What Krishna is giving the principle here? That even if we try to run away from our duty, or even if we try to withdraw ourselves, we cannot change our action. Why? Because our action is propelled by our nature, and our nature is governed by the modes. Let us understand this more deeply. This next verse also Krishna is emphasizing on this. Arjuna was a military man, born of the nature of the Kshatriya. So this is the nature. Arjuna nature was Kshatriya. So Kshatriya means, and one who is always for the cause of protecting the religious principles. So therefore his natural duty was to fight. But due to false ego, he was fearing that by killing his teacher and grandfather and friends, he would incur simple reaction. Actually, he was considering himself master of his actions. So Prabhupada is diagnosing that why he was willing to fight. As if he were directing the good and bad results of such work. He forgot that the Supreme Personality is very important. Many times in our worldly situations, we are in a similar situation where we fail to recognize that we are not all in all. But as it is being said here, that as if we are the master of our actions. So he forgot that Krishna is also there. And it is Krishna's instruction for him to fight. That is the forgetfulness of the conditioned soul. The Supreme Personality gives direction as to what is good and what is bad. And one simply has to act in Krishna consciousness to attain the perfection of life. No one can ascertain his destiny as the Supreme Lord can. Therefore, the best course is to take direction from the Supreme Lord and act. No one should neglect the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or the order of the spiritual master, who is the representative of God. One should act unhesitatingly to execute the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That will keep one safe under all circumstances. What was the principle that we discussed yesterday? So protection comes as we act as per order. To the extent we are acting under instructions as per order, as per direction, to that extent Krishna is giving protection. Or we are getting protection from the parampara. So Krishna is warning Arjuna, and through Arjuna he is warning all of us. What is the swabhava of a jiva? Is to naturally perform service to Krishna. And if the jiva thinks that it is very troublesome, or because of service I will not be able to get material success, or this service is becoming an impediment in our material success, what is he trying to do? He is trying to go against his swabhava, which he cannot. So ultimately what he will do? He will serve Maya. And as one serves Maya, what one faces? He faces more miseries. In any case, he has to be miserable if he has given up Krishna. So this principle is being emphasized here by Krishna. Any question or any discussion on this? Or I go to the next verse. Ahankar ashritya. Many times in our life, we are ashritya, we take shelter of our false ego. So Krishna is condemning this. Yes, Prabhu? There shall go.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Correct.
My question is from the last sloka. You told about that one who acts under the direction of the Supreme Lord or his representative, he is protected. To the extent he follows, he get protected.
Yeah.
So here, what is the meaning, Prabhuji? The protection. Protection means
What is the meaning of protection? Protection means the Atma cannot glide down to lower species of life. The Atma will not become forgetfulness of Krishna. The Atma will not be engaged in sinful activity to suffer more. So all this protection is it protection? What protection we want? We will be having the FL opportunity to perform devotional service. That is the greatest opportunity. We will get good association, saintly association. We will get the scriptural understanding. So we'll get the intelligence to understand and apply Shastra. Great protection. Okay. Anyone else? Very powerful principle Krishna is telling here. That is why we see many times we prepare a lot with some person or with some relationship we have difficulty. We are preparing ourselves that I will not get into the same situation again, or I will not be provoked, or I will not react, or I will not allow anger to control me. But what happens? When the pinnacle comes, when that summit point comes, all the preparation goes for a toss. And we act in the same abominable way which we wanted to avoid. What is the reason? The reason Krishna is mentioning here. It is because of Prakriti Tva. Krishna has already stated this in the 3rd chapter. That one is helpless. One can only be helped when he agrees to abide by the orders of Krishna. Okay, I am moving to the 60th verse. Swabhavajena kaunteya nibaddha svena karmana kartum nekchasi yanmohat parishyasi avasopitat. So Prakriti gives birth to Swabhava. So Prabhupada says Swabhava means born of your nature. Swabhava is coming from one's nature. Swabhavajena kaunteya nibaddha sevana karmani. So one is bound. How one is bound? By his swabhava, by his nature. And according to the nature or according to the swabhava, he is forced to svena karmani. He is forced to act. Under illusion, you are not declining to act according to my direction. So Krishna is warning Arjuna that under illusion, you are not declaring to act under my direction. But compelled by the work born of your own nature, you will act all the same, O son of Kunti. This is the situation now. There is a story of King Indra. He beheaded his priest, Vishwarup, the son of Tushta. And there is one more incident where he was warned. He tried his level best not to commit violence against the priest whom he has selected. But again, it happened. So Krishna is giving this principle that how much we are enslaved by our conditioning. So this is a punishment which the material nature gives in the form of conditioning. And for any normal man to break through conditioning is just not possible. He is broken by the conditioning, but he cannot break the conditioning. Prabhupada says in the purport that if one refuses to act under the direction of the Supreme Lord, then he is compelled to act by the modes in which he is situated. Very clear principle. Devi Esha Gunmai Mammaya Duratya. One cannot cross the influence of the mode. But one who is surrendering to Krishna, Krishna can release him from the influence of mode. Everyone is under the spell of a particular combination of the modes of nature and is acting in that way. But anyone who voluntarily engages himself under the direction of the Supreme Lord becomes glorious, or he becomes free from the influence of the modes. Next verse number 61. Ishvara sarva bhutana hide deshe arjuna tishtati brahmyan sarva bhutani yantra rudani mayaya. So Krishna is giving this very important information once again, that the super soul who is present in everyone, in every living entity, where is he present? He takes the seat in the heart of the individual. As the living entity in this material world, he receives a yantra, a machine. What is that machine which he receives? From Maya, from material nature, is this body. The body is compared here to the machine. And what one does when he receives this machine, the human body, and due to illusion, is Brahmyan. He is in deep, dense illusion. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities, who are seated on a machine made of material energy. So this machine is this body, and once one receives this body, that is like a yantra, like a machine. And what this machine does, it facilitates the wandering of the jiva from one life form to another life form, from one planet to another planet, from one universe to another universe, and from one body to another body. Continuous cycle continues. So Arjuna was not the supreme knower. Two types of knower, Kshetra and Kshetrakya. Kshetrakya is the knower. One is the individual knower, which is the soul, and the other, Prabhupada says, is the super knower, who is the super soul, who knows about each and every individual soul. And his decision to fight or not to fight was confined to his limited discretion. Lord Krishna instructed that the individual is not all in all. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, or he himself, Krishna, as the localized super soul, sits in the heart, directing the living beings. So here it is being stated that the Supreme Lord, he resides where? In the heart of the living entity, as super soul. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, or he himself, Krishna, as the localized super soul, sits in the heart, directing the living beings. After changing body, the living entity forgets his past deeds. But the super soul, as the knower of the past, present, and future, remains the witness of all his activities. Therefore, all the activities of living entities are directed by this super soul. The living entity gets what he deserves and is carried by the material body, which is created by the material energy under the direction of the super soul. As soon as the living entity is placed in a particular type of body, he has to work under the spell of that bodily situation. So once the soul transmigrates and enters into a body, like someone goes into the body of a hog, so then all his activities, his thinking, willing, feeling, his working, everything will be according to that body. And he cannot make a change. Prabhupada says that if you have taken a ticket in an airline and once you have entered the Airbus, the carrier, checked in, you have got the boarding pass, you have been seated, then you cannot change your destination. If you are taking a flight from Delhi to Mumbai, once you have taken the boarding pass, once you have boarded the plane, then without going to Mumbai, you cannot opt to go anywhere else. It will not work. So similarly, once who has taken this material body, he is obliged to transfer from one body to another body. And he has to work under the spell of that bodily situation. A person seated in a high-speed motor car goes faster than the one seated in a slow car. Although the living entity, the driver, may be the same. Similarly, by the order of the Supreme Soul, material nature fashions a particular type of body to a particular type of living entity, so that he may work according to his past desires. The living entity is not independent. One should not think himself independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The individual is always under the Lord's control. Therefore, one's duty is to surrender, and that is the injection of the next verse. I am stopping here. I don't want to proceed. I'm very exhausted. So is there any question, or we do the recitation of the 15th chapter? I will close early, sleep early today. Tomorrow is the Ekadashi, the second Ekadashi of this month, Purushottam, so that we can chant maximum tomorrow. Try to chant 64. Who will recite the 15th chapter today? Who has not recited so far? Devadat, will you like to recite?
Yes, Rajan.
Very good. Let us begin.
श्रीभगवानुवाच ऊर्ध्वमूलमधशाखम् अश्वत्थं प्राहुरव्ययम् छन्दांसि यस्य पर्णानि यस्मिन् वेद स वेदवित् अधश्चोर्ध्वं प्रसदस्य शाखा गुणप्रवृद्धा विषयप्रवाला अधश्च मूलानि अनुसन्ततानि कर्मानुबन्धीनि मनुष्यलोके न रूपमस्येह ततोपलभ्यते नान्तो न चार्दिन च सम्प्रतिष्ठा अश्वत्थमेनं सुविरूढमूल असङ्गशस्त्रेण दृढेन चित्वा ततं पदं तत्परिमार्गितव्यं यस्मिन् गता न निवर्तन्ति भूय त्वमेव चात्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यत्र प्रवृत्ति प्रसुता पुराणे निर्माणमोहाजितसङ्गदोष आध्यात्मनित्या विनिवृत्तकामः द्वन्द्वैर्विमुक्तः सुखदुःखसङ्गे गच्छन्त्यमूढा पदमव्ययं तत् न तद्भाषयते सूर्यो न शशङ्को न पावकः यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम मामेवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूतः सनातनः मनसश्चानि इन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति शरीरं यद्वाप्नोति यच्चाप्युत्क्रामतीश्वर गृहीते तानि संयाति वायुर्गन्धानि वासयात् श्रोत्रं चक्षुस्पर्शनं च रसनं घ्राणमेव च अधिष्ठाय मनश्चाय विषयानुपसेवते उत्क्रमन्तं स्थितं वापि भुञ्जनं वा गुणान्वितं विमूढानानुपश्यन्ति पश्यन्ति ज्ञानचक्षुषा यतन्तो योगिनश्चेन पश्यन्ति आत्मनेऽवस्थितं यतन्तोऽप्यकृतात्मानो नैनं पश्यन्ति यचेतसः यदादिभगतं तेजो जगद्भासयतेऽखिलं यच्चन्द्रमासि यच्चक्नो तत्तेजो विधिमामकम् गामाविश्य च भूतानि धारयाम्यः अहमोजसा पुष्पामि चौषधी सर्वो सोमो भूत्वा रसात्मकः अहं वैश्वानरो भूत्वा प्राणिनां देहमाश्रितः प्राणपान समायुक्तः पचामि अन्नं चतुर्विधं सर्वस्य चाहं हृदसन्निविष्टो मतं श्रुतिं ज्ञानमपोहनं च देवेश्च सर्वे अहमेव मृत्यो वेदान्तकृत्ये विदविद च विदेवे चाहम् द्वायिमा पुरुषो लोके क्षरचाक्षर एव च क्षर सर्वाणि भूतानि कुटस्थोऽक्षर उच्यते उत्तमः पुरुषस्तन्य परमे में तु उदाहृतः जो लोकत्रयमाविष्ट
It is Paramatmati. Paramatmati.
परमात्मेति उदाहृतः जो लोकत्रयमाविश्य विवर्त्यव्य ईश्वर यस्माक्षरमतीतोऽहम् अक्षरादपि चोत्तम अतोऽस्मि लोके वेदे च प्रथितो पुरुषोत्तमः जे मामेव सम्मूढो जानाति पुरुषोत्तमं स सर्वविद् जाना स सर्वविद् भजति मां सर्वभावेन भारत इति गुह्यतमं शास्त्रम् इदमुक्तं मया नघ एतद् बुद्ध्वा बुद्धिमान् स्यात् कृतकृत्यश्च भारत ओम तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्ण अर्जुन संवादे पुरुषोत्तम योगो नाम पंचमोऽध्यायः पंचदशोऽध्यायः हरे कृष्ण.
Thank you. Excellent. Very, very inspiring recitation. Thank you, Devadat. You are putting your best effort, your heart in trying to understand Bhagavad Gita. Krishna will be extremely pleased. Thank you for inspiring everyone. So we'll meet tomorrow. Possibly we'll continue our discussion. And please try to organize yourself in such a way so that tomorrow you can chant the maximum number of rounds. This is the final Akashi for this year, or for till the next time we get Purushottam month. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, all glory.